Well, welcome to Living Deeper. I'm so glad you're joining me today. You know, I've been talking the last couple of weeks about get up and wake up. And today I want to talk about straighten up. I just believe that if we're going to be the brides who have made themselves ready because the King is coming, then we've got to understand the assault that has taken place on our lives so that we can be more than conquerors through those things. Get these yokes off of us. That's why we're going through the free study. Break these yokes off of us so that we can live at a higher place, the highway of holiness, soaring like eagles. But there's a process we have to go through sometimes to get there. And sometimes we don't even know we're in the middle of it. And so the scriptures give us three women. And the first week I talked about out of Mark chapter 5, there were two women there. One was a little girl, Jairus' daughter. And we found out she wasn't dead, she was just asleep. And what happens to us many times as women is that we go dormant. We get hardened by life. And we have to have the environment, the atmosphere in our lives change so that our outer husk or covering can be permeated again with the love of Christ. And then the next one that was all about get up, yes. And then the next one was all about rising up. And that was about the lady who had the issue of blood for 12 years and how she just reached out and touched the hem of the garment and she was immediately healed. And we talked about that so many times we feel damaged. We feel like somebody's put a label on us or whatever, and we feel damaged, and how God wants to come in and heal us and say, you're not broken. There may be a broken heart in your soul, a broken place in your soul, but He came to love on. He came to heal the brokenhearted. But you as an identity are not broken. You are whole because of Jesus. And Jesus lives in you and He's perfectly whole. And so that was these 2 weeks have been so good. And then today, I want to bring you another story about a lady out of Luke chapter 13. And I want to read that to you, and then we'll kind of talk about what we see in this one. And there's actually similarities in all three as well. So let me read this to you. On the Sabbath, Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues, and a woman was there who had been crippled by a spirit for 18 years. She was bent over and could not straighten up at all. When Jesus saw her, He called her forward and said to her, "Woman, you are set free from your infirmity." Then He put His hands on her, and immediately she straightened up and praised God. Now, a couple of things in there I just kind of want to pull out for you. It says that she was bent over for 18 years. The number 18 actually is the number of oppression and bondage. And it actually says that she had a spirit, a crippling spirit. Now, if you're wondering, is that a demonic spirit? If you go on down the scriptures, Jesus begins to speak because there's some questioning about, I can't believe you healed somebody on the Sabbath. And Jesus actually says, "Then should not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, who Satan has kept bound for 18 years, be set free on the Sabbath day from what has bound her?" And so Jesus is acknowledging this is a demonic spirit. This is a spirit of infirmity, bondage, and oppression that comes from the enemy. So yes, we have an enemy who can put us in some bondage. And I think my question for you today is 18 stinking years. This woman has been bent over for 18 years. And I sat here and I thought, can you imagine just the weightiness of being bent over like that? The weightiness of being so hunched over, as I said, I just can't imagine. You never look people face to face. I just can't imagine what that would be like. And I think for us today, even as women, what has you been over? What has you crippled? What has crippled you? The word I used is debilitating. What debilitating thing has happened to you? Maybe you feel the weight and you're crippled by grief, by loss, by divorce. You're crippled by financial ruin. You're crippled by a relationship gone bad, your children going awry, you're debilitated literally because of an illness that just is lingering. I mean, there are so many things that weigh us down. And I want to give you the definition that the word debilitated means. That it's, by definition, it means to be made weak, to become feeble, and to be exhausted. And if you've ever had to carry a weight for a long period of time, I try to work out every day of the week, and I'm telling you, sometimes carrying those weights, after a while, you just get exhausted from it. So I can only imagine if you've just carried something, shame, pain, wrong identity, wounds, just all the things I've named it that have weighed you down, and you've carried it for so long, you can just be absolutely worn out and exhausted. That's what debilitating means. And so here we see a woman that we can identify with because we found ourselves in that same place. And yet it says that Jesus immediately, when he touched her and said to her, "Woman, you are set free from your infirmity." So he did not say, "You are healed." He said, "You are set free." Again, a yoke being broken. Freedom and healing are very much the same thing. And so you're free from this infirmity. I think there's some of you that are listening to me now who are like, if I could just get this weight of whatever it is off of me. I'm telling you today, Jesus says you're free. Galatians 5:1, it is for freedom that Jesus set you free. See, he already set you free. You just have to know how to live in it and how to stay free. And so right here, as I saw this, I thought, some of us have tried so hard to fix our problems on our own, to try to hold it together. And then I'm reminded that we can't hold it together, that Colossians 1:17 says he holds it all together. And then as I began to think through this little lady, this woman who's been crippled for 18 years, I thought to myself, Mephibosheth, out of 2 Samuel chapter 9, I believe, when Saul and his son Jonathan, David's best friend, that had been killed in battle, and David in 2 Samuel 9 says, "Is there anybody in his family that I can bless?" Because he made a promise to him. And they say, "Well, there's this guy named Mephibosheth, and he's crippled." And so you find out that his nursemaid grabbed him up and was running with him as a child because they were afraid he was going to be killed, and she fell on top of him and it crippled him. Most likely it broke both his ankles and they weren't set, and so it left him crippled. And so the King David said, "Go get him. He will sit at the king's table." And he got all of Saul's land, all of Saul's servants. He was responsible for that land, and he sat at the king's table. It made me think about the friends who brought their crippled friend and couldn't get him to Jesus. And so they tore a hole in the roof and lowered him down to get him to Jesus. I sit here and think, when we're debilitated, when we feel exhausted and broken and crippled from the weight of this world or the weight of the circumstances we're in, I think our biggest goal, y'all, is you just got to get to the King. You just got to get to Jesus. Listen, in all of these stories, Jairus' daughter, the woman with the 12 years of bleeding, the woman crippled for 18 years, the commonality in all three is Jesus. They had to get to Jesus. Here's another commonality that I thought about. Satan would love for you to feel dormant, to create a hard-heartedness about you, okay? And if left unattended, he will take you down a road, down a pathway from being dormant, feeling nothing, hard outer crust, not growing at all, to this whole damaged context. Because if I feel damaged, then that starts talking about who I am and my identity. So I go from dormant to damaged. Dormant, hard-hearted, hard crust, protective of myself, to I'm completely damaged, there's no hope for me. So now I've gone to hopelessness. And then I get over here to debilitating, which means I can't move, I'm crippled, I'm stuck, I'm exhausted, so I can't even get up. Do y'all remember the story of the man crippled, and he laid at the pool of Bethesda for like 38 years? And Jesus comes, and he kept waiting for the angels to stir the waters, because when the waters stirred, whoever got in first got healed. And so Jesus comes over there and he's like, I've been waiting for all this. Listen, so many of us have gone down this pathway of dormancy, and life has made us hard, or we've protected ourselves because of woundedness. And then we feel so damaged. We feel like damaged goods. We feel like we can never overcome this, and we lose all hope. And then if we, again, left unattended, we get to a place where we feel as though we're exhausted, we're worn out, I'm crippled by this thing, and I'll never survive it. And I think we can all see that. But let me tell you another thing that I saw in this process. In all three of these places, see, there's another path. There's another process going on. And this is what I see. In all three of those, first of all, Jesus was involved. And Jesus showed his authority by the way he spoke. Little girl, get up. To the lady that was crippled, your infirmity, you're free from your infirmity. Listen, he spoke, he declared, he showed his authority over the enemy. He showed his authority over to give life. He showed his authority to take back identity. He showed his authority to heal. And so we see this authority going on in all three. We see his touch. In the story of Jairus' daughter, he went and woke her up, right? Wake up, get up. It's time to get up. In the second story of the 12 years of bleeding, she actually touched Jesus, and Jesus was like, "Wait a minute, power came out of me," but it was the touch. And then in this one, it said that he touched her. He saw her, he called her forward and said to her, "Woman, you are set free from your infirmity." Then he put his hands on her, and immediately she straightened up. So we see that we got to get to the King, because we need his touch and we need his authority. He says in his word, behold, later on in Luke, this is Luke 13, in Luke 19, he says, "Behold, I've given you authority to tread upon serpents and scorpions." And so you can take authority, and when you allow the Spirit of God to touch and empower your life. And so love those similarities. Here's another progression that I saw. And certainly it could be of age, but it went from a little girl. And let me read this to you. In the first one, it said, "Little girl, get up." In the second, that was Jairus' daughter. In the second one, the woman with the issue of blood for 12 years, he said, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. You are freed from your suffering." Little girl, then daughter. And then this scenario in Luke, or story in Luke chapter 13, the woman bent over for 18 years. He said, "Woman, you are free from your infirmity." Listen, y'all, when we walk in relationship with the Lord, we don't go down the road that the enemy wants to take us, where we're hopeless because we feel like we're dormant, damaged, and debilitated. No, we go down the road of, we go from his child to his daughter to a woman. You know what woman means? Reflection of. See, as long as you press in, I got to get to the King. Just like Mephibosheth went to the King, just like the friends took the sick friend, dropped him through the roof. You got to get to Jesus. Let me just get to the King. If I can just get to the King. Jairus, I just got to get to Jesus. The woman that with the 12 years of blood issue, she just had to reach out and get Jesus. Are you seeing this? the lady crippled trying to get through the crowd to get to Jesus. And once you get to Jesus, there starts a new process of you understanding you're his child and he's going to care for you like a sheep and a shepherd. But then he goes on and says, but you are my daughter, which means that now you begin to understand as a daughter what inheritance is like and what he has given you. For life and godliness, everything you need has been given you through Christ. And then you step into even more of understanding you're a woman. You are a reflection of the heart of God to those who come around you. Do you see that beautiful progression? And that's where we need to be. So we don't want to any longer allow the enemy to take us down the road of feeling dormant and damaged and debilitated. No, we want to go down the road of understanding we're a child, we've been adopted, we are a loved daughter, a much loved daughter of God, and all that, what that means as co-heirs with Christ. And then to understand that we are women who can reflect the light and the love of Jesus. Isn't that beautiful? And so you got to get to Jesus. You got to get to the King's table where you are welcomed. Because let me tell you what's at the King's table. I wrote down 4 things. When you go to the King's table, there is no lack. There's no lack. There's no running out of anything. There is no lack. You will lack for nothing at the King's table. What does it say in the 23rd Psalm? Right? The Good Shepherd, right, who provides for our every need, I shall not want. Okay. Here's a second one. Not only no lack, but more than enough. You will be filled to overflowing. That's out of the resources of the heart, the mouth speaks. You will have living water that overflows out of you. Listen, when you get to the King's table, there's no lack, and you have not only everything you need, but it overflows in abundance. Jesus says in John 10:10, I came to give you abundant life, more than enough. And then the other thing I wrote down is it is a place of honor. It is a place of honor. If you'll remember, if you go back to these 3, get up, straighten up, and rise up. If you'll go back and you'll watch these, I will tell you that this all came out of the fact that I just believe over the course of time, women have lost our dignity. And I define what dignity is. And I'm telling you that when you get back to the King's table, you find honor and dignity because the King delights in you as his child, his daughter, and a woman who reflects his heart. And so the only other one I wrote down I've already spoken to, and that is adoption. That you are now his, fully adopted. When Mephibosheth came to that table, he became an adopted son of David. And you are a child, a daughter, a son. You have been adopted. You have the spirit of adoption. You no longer have to carry around an orphan spirit. You carry around the spirit of adoption, where everything that's in the kingdom is all yours. And so I wanted to come and just wrap these 3 about women and the things that we go through, the things that weigh us down, the yokes that are on us, that we would remember from this scenario that we have a God who wants to free us. We have a God who wants to heal us, who wants us to know our identity so that we can reflect him in such a beautiful way on this earth, that our dignity has been restored through Jesus so that we can live at a higher place, flying like an eagle on the winds of the Spirit and fulfilling the purposes for which we were made.